So, to start off tonight, I like to use a very famous historical example, the Titanic. I'm sure everyone knows about the story of the Titanic and how it sailed and then it sunk in 1912 with a big iceberg. But tonight, I want to talk about or what some people call the hubris that may have went along with the Titanic. And I'm going to lead that into being prepared. So they said the Titanic was unsinkable, and for that reason, there was only lifeboats enough for 1,178 people on board. Now, on the night that it sank, there were 2,208 people on board. So, this great big ship, this wonder of the world for the modern day, I have the dimensions here. It's 882 feet long, 175 feet tall, and 46,000 tons. It's a giant ship. It's Titanic. But something like this, it seems like man had achieved something, a huge accomplishment, and for that reason, they were unprepared for that tragic event. Something had blinded them from seeing what could happen and what tragedies could happen in life. So on that night, when the accident did happen and the Titanic sunk, there weren't enough people for the lifeboats. Not only that, but because everyone was frantically hurrying, not even the lifeboats that were on board were used fully. They were often just a handful of people. They could have fit way more people in those lifeboats. So that is an example in history, not too far back, where man has thought so high of himself that he was unprepared, and thus a tragedy resulted. So I want to talk about another lifeboat in Genesis 6. So if y'all want to go there, and all of y'all know about Genesis 6 too, Noah's Ark. So God asked Noah to build the ark because he said the world is wicked at this point. I'm going to start over. I'm going to wipe out all the earth. I'm going to flood the earth, and the rains are going to come down, and I'm going to start over with you, Noah, you and your family. And what's amazing about this is that, so in Genesis 6, we see that God is telling Noah to do all these things and all these instructions. What's amazing is in this chapter, verse 22, Noah did everything just as God commanded him. Everything just as God commanded him. Didn't leave anything out, did everything. So Noah listened to God, and he trusted God. And he prepared for something that he knew was coming. And that's a big distinction I want to make tonight. You can prepare for two things. One, the expected, and two, the unexpected. So the Titanic was unexpected. They didn't expect to run into an iceberg and all these things happen. The ark was expected because Noah trusted that these things would happen. So he was told in advance that these things would happen. And often we might think that maybe accidents are to be expected, but we don't expect to have an accident, or we can't really predict an accident or an emergency at a certain time and place. So in our lives today, we have many things we want to prepare for. That can be anything. So for example, any emergencies. If we talk about just a car accident, or a fire, or any sort of emergency like that, we have firemen, we have policemen, we have ambulances just ready to go. They're waiting. They're already prepared. It's not like you have to just recruit firemen at the last second. Oh, we have a fire going. Like, we already have those ready. We already have hospitals ready. It's not like we have to go build a hospital when someone gets injured. We have those ready. We are prepared for emergencies. And those are things that are unexpected. Now, we also have things in life which we prepare for and we expect, say job interviews or tests for those in high school and college, or other things in life which we know are going to happen, but we ought to prepare for them that we can do the best in those things. Really what I want to talk about tonight, that's the most important, is in Matthew 25, or Matthew chapter 5, let's just go there. And this is the parable of the 10 virgins. And it's a classic example of being prepared. So I'm gonna read the first verse, or I'm gonna read the first few verses. So it reads, "At that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet their bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps, but did not take any oil with them. The wise, however, took oil in jars along with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep." So here's an example of something where they're expecting the bridegroom to come. This is something that we expect to do, or this is expected. It's not something that's going to surprise them. So continuing on in verse 6, "At midnight the cry rang out, 'Here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him.' Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish one said to the wise, 'Give us some of your oil, our lamps are going out.' 'No,' they replied, 'there may not be enough for both of us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves.' But while they were on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut." So we see here that the wise virgins have prepared and they brought enough oil, and so they are ready when the bridegroom comes. And so, but the foolish ones have not prepared. And so when this thing does happen, which was expected, which they knew was coming, they have to go get more oil. And the bridegroom comes while they're away. So continuing on verse 11, sorry. "Later the others also came. 'Sir, sir,' they said, 'open the door for us.' But he replied, 'I tell you the truth, I don't know you. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour.'" So talking here about the coming of Christ. And I'm going to have Davin read 1 Thessalonians verse 5, 1 through 6.
"Now, brothers, about times and dates we do not need to write to you, for you know very well that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night. While people are saying peace and safety, destruction will come on them suddenly as labor pains on a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. But you, brothers, are not in darkness, so that this day should surprise you like a thief. You are the sons of light and the sons of day. We do not belong to the night or to the darkness. So then let us not be like others who are asleep, but let us be alert and self-controlled."
So that verse talking about the coming of Christ and how we do not know when he is coming, but we can expect that he is coming. And as Christians, we can be sure in that. And so it's funny to me that we have these things that are unexpected, but we prepare for them so much, such as say hospitals and fire trucks and all these things for emergencies. But there is something that we are certain of that we don't maybe not prepare wholeheartedly for, and as much as we can, because we can be certain of this. Now it can be in the next hour, it can be tomorrow, or it could be long past our time. It can be in 100 years. But regardless, it's going to happen. And whether we meet him at our death or whether he comes right now, we ought to be prepared. And so that is the big one that we ought to focus on, about being prepared for Christ, and being prepared for him coming back. to go back to the Titanic real quick, and I want to just talk about like our life being a ship, and if we have icebergs in our way, and sort of these things will arise, and we will have struggles in our life, and emergencies are expected to happen, and we don't know when. But those struggles and those emergencies can all be prepared for if we have a strong foundation in Christ. And we've all heard the song about the wise man built his house upon the rock, and the foolish man built his house upon the sand. And how like the foundation is a preparation for the things to come in life. And so not only is it a preparation for the next life, it's a preparation for this life. And so really how you build that foundation is right here. It's right here. This is the foundation. And you don't find that anywhere else. And that goes for the emergencies that are expected and unexpected. So just looking in this life and in the next, we ought to be prepared. We ought to have a foundation in this, in Christ, in order that we may just keep the mindset of Christ and just focus on Him, and know that, like I was talking about this morning, like we shouldn't worry. And like this, what we have right now, doesn't matter if we're not focusing on the end goal, and so and preparing us accordingly. So tonight I ask if you don't feel like you are prepared either for the struggles of this life, or more importantly, prepared to meet Christ, if He were to come right now and say, "Come on, let's go home, let's go ahead." I don't know. I think that would be awesome. But if you don't feel prepared, I ask that you come and sing with us tonight.